Well, hello, fellow investors and traders. I'm LA Little, and this is your daily NeoTA wrap, where we take a look at these markets and we do it from a neoclassical perspective. Each time we're asking ourselves the one question, and that is, what happened today, and what does it tell us about the coming ones? Do a show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube, and it's under the channel LA Little. You can subscribe to it, top right-hand corner there. Just subscribe. It's free, easy, keeps you up to date with what's going on. And of course, this year a lot has been going on. If we look at the markets today, we got that reversal we were talking about last night. The setup wasn't that clean. It was good in the U.S. It wasn't that clean elsewhere. But we did get the reversal. We did have the reversal in Europe as well. We'll take a look at those charts here in a sec. We didn't have it in Asia, but it looks like Asia is getting the bounce this evening. I see the Chinese market up slightly, but Hong Kong pretty big gains this evening, it looks like, in Hong Kong. So let's move to the charts, take a look at those. I'll start with the S&P 500. And if you take a look here at the S&P 500, you know, last night this was the one that gave us the reversal signal. You had slightly less volume on the reversal. And what I'm speaking to specifically here is that if you take a look at the volume characteristics of yesterday, the day before, and you see the under back over, right, after an extended move, right, that's called a 2-bar reversal, or at least that's the name I give it. A 2-bar reversal, so you extend, you get under, you can't hold it. And what is that telling you? That's telling you that the sellers can't keep the momentum going to the downside. And what's that going to do? It's going to try to pop it back the other way. Now, the way I like to look at it is that worst case, you get something sideways. Or best case, you actually get the reversal. Well, the reversal tonight is what we're getting. Pushes back up. Volume expands on the way back up. The test as we go back up, as we pointed out last night, you know, is going to be back into these swing point lows that were broken. And so if you draw those in, that's a bearish retest regenerate. It's up in this area. You also have this escalation of volume on the breakdown bar. And so your area that you want to be looking at is up in that area there. That's where I expect this thing will have problems as it pushes back up, assuming it gets back up there before it finds other problems to deal with. NASDAQ, if we look at the NASDAQ now, last night the NASDAQ, if you remember, by like 15 cents did the under back over, but it had more volume. So you really didn't have the true 2-bar reversal, because you really need all three. You need extension, you need the volumes to be right, and you need the under back over. Well, he got 2 of the 3, but still got the little push back up today. Lighter volume here. So again, still doesn't look as good as the S&P reversal. If we move over to the NDX, now the NDX actually had more volume, just like the NASDAQ composite, but it also got under back over, right? Same sort of thing. And tonight it does the reversal, has a little bit less volume as well. Moving to the Russell. Now the Russell didn't give a signal last night. Tonight it does, but it's just like the NDX was. The signal it gives is not that clean, in that you've got the extension, right? So the extension to the downside, you get under, back over, but you have more volume. So yes, it can push back up. It can trade deeper again tomorrow and test again. But looking at that S&P, it looks to me like this is probably going to try and push higher just based on our indexes. When you combine it with other indexes, it tells the same story, just a little bit stronger. We'll get to that in a second. What I wanted to do first is I want to remind you, you know, we are a paying business here, so we do run services, and we do encourage you to check us out. At the beginning of the year, we made it cheap, we made it easy. If you click on the Get Started button, you can see what I'm talking about. If you bring this up, You can see the tools and services that are available. All these tools and services, folks, $19 a month. We made it extremely cheap, made it a no-brainer. If you do the full year, it's less than $15 a month. So I encourage you to come over and take a look at what we're doing here. All right, let's go back and let's take a look at the overseas market. So tonight I'm going to take just a little bit more time. I'm going to go over all of the overseas markets that I track, the main ones at least. Australia. I just want to show you the extent of these sell-offs that have taken place. Australia comes down, goes under, back over last night, right? This thing's going to try to pop higher. India underneath the swing point low, stays under it, reverses trend as a result. Well, not reverses, but reaffirms. But it reaffirms in a slightly better way in that it's a suspect versus confirmed. You're under on the weekly time frame. This is a key time frame. You traded into it with lighter volume last week. This week it looks like you're going to do lighter volume as well. I suspect by the end of the week, India is going to be up and over this, and it's going to have done a successful retest on this time frame, or not retest, but a test of those lows on this time frame, and it's going to try to pop back up to this retest, regenerate zone, bearish again on this time frame. And if you draw it in, this is the area right here. It's tried to come into it a couple times. Next time back up gives it a better shot. Actually, this is not true. Let me redraw this as I look at it more closely here. So you actually had tested over it already, right? Because the break of this was this break here. So the bigger test was up here, tested into it, failed. That got the generation back down. So on the way back up, the real test is going to be higher. And that test is going to be back up in this area here, this price point, right up in there. So as it comes back up, the lows, the highs, that's where the test is on the way back up. So India does look like it probably will reverse and try to head back higher. The one market that can't do anything right is the Bovespa. And this market is just under extreme pressure. You've got all the political problems. You got the fact that they're a commodity country, and you've got just a demolishing of the market. Here's the monthly as well, under all the swing point lows. This goes back 5 years. You're under all the lows from 5 years. As a matter of fact, you're pressing against the 2008 lows at this point. That's Brazil. I want to stay back in Asia. I want to go to Hong Kong. Here's the Hong Kong, the Hang Seng. Again, last night lower. On the weekly, you've broken the swing point low. So what you're going to look for now on the way back up is, can it hold underneath this on a weekly or not? If we look at the volumes coming in, it's going to be a tight press on the way back, so it may or may not hold. This one's not clean. We did see a while ago that it is trading higher tonight. These things are going to bounce, because everything's so oversold at this point. I want to come back real quickly here on the daily. So it's going to have trouble at 23.23, and that number there is 368. So I don't know if this is going to I don't know if it's going to save or not by the end of the week. We'll need another day here and see what it looks like by tomorrow. Moving on over Nikkei. The Nikkei also demolished. This has to do with the yen rising precipitously. This has done an ABCD structure, more than an ABCD structure. Breaks a swing point low on the daily, so it's going to get a retest regen here on the way back up. And it's attacking the lows, and doesn't look like it's going to have the volume. So I suspect it's going to hold for now. If we look at the Shanghai. So looking at Shanghai last night, gets under, back over, less volume, extension, 2-bar reversal. Shanghai's going higher. So across Asia, you've got most of these markets set up to try and bounce higher. If we look at Europe, Now, Europe has reversals as well. They're just not of the normal variety, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. These all look like they're going to try and go higher as well. So you've got this bar that was tested, right? The volume's there, tested today again, right? Finally gets back over it, less volume. So it tested into it 2 days. Now the third gets back over it. It's going to come back into this swing point low, try to do a retest, regenerate off that low, and that's in this area right here. So that's the CACs. If I look at the DAX got the same setup, gets under, back over, right? Or not under, but it's testing into this low again, can't get under it, pops back up, swing point low here. DAX looks like it's going to at least run back into here and test into that. Realize you have two swing point lows that it's testing into. Both of them have volume or decent volume, but you're coming up with some decent volume as well. So I suspect it will get into these and trade up into this area somewhere. The FTSE. Now, I don't look at the FTSE very often, but it actually has that same setup. It gets under, back over, a little less volume after an extension. This one's going to pop higher as too. So if I look at Asia, most of those want to try to turn. If I look at Europe, Europe looks like it can bounce farther. If I look at the U.S., I've already said, looks like the U.S. wants to try and trade higher tomorrow. And finally, if we come over and look at the currencies, which are driving a lot of the action, let me pop in here. The dollar does not look like it's going to try and go any higher. It looks like it's range bound. Top of this bar is 25.73. Tested over it today, back underneath it, holds in the range. If you look at the euro same way. So if I pop up the euro looks to me like it's going to bounce. It was testing into the bottom part of this Draghi bar. That looks like it's going to hold and try to bounce as well. Given that, the big move today, of course, was in the oil market. Oil pushes down, and I'm using the OIL ETF here, but on West Texas Intermediate, if you look at the actual futures markets, it traded under, broke 30 for a few seconds. A psychological number, that's where they cover on the short side, pops back up, and that's what you see here. It's going to hold higher. The dollar is going to allow it to hold higher, and you're going to get a bounce back into the swing point low, and that will be true on the contract as well. So oil going to pop back up. Now, if you look at the volumes associated with it, and if you look at some of the volumes associated with some of these other markets, a lot of them are leaving volumes at the bottoms, right, which says down the road we're going to be back down here again. And so don't think this thing is just going to run to the moon. And I know we're accustomed to the V-shape rallies, and I suspect we'll get another V-shape rally of to some extent out of here. But if you look at the volumes, right, it's probably not going to be permanent. We're going to be back. If you look at the XLB, under, over, extension, reversal. XLE leaves volume at the bottom, but also a reversal. XLF, and I'm just going to quickly show you these sectors because they're driving action. It did the under over yesterday, gets the extension today, wants to go higher. If we look at the XLI, let me grab it. XLI gets under. Why am I doing the dollar? Hang on, let me grab the XLI. Keep hitting the wrong button here. There we go. So under, back over, slightly less volume last night, gets the extension back up the other way today. Technology, this was the strongest suit all day long. Same thing, under, back over yesterday, gets the extension back up today. XLP had a little bit more volume yesterday, but still gets the extension back the other way. XLV and the XLY. So if XLV had traded, we talked about it last night, I'll come back to it here, but we got the extension here. This one had more volume. So some of these did leave more volume. They'll be back down. Here's that test of this swing point low. Gets under it, back over it, less volume, gets the extension back today. All the signs are there for a bounce. The bounce is underway. You're going to see an extension tomorrow as a result of it. I suspect you get 1, maybe 2 days. You got earnings coming out Thursday in particular. There's some tomorrow on the banks. That's going to be the next key. And you got these Fed speakers all week, and they keep yapping about the same thing. So I don't know that they're going to make a difference. It's really going to be the earnings that make the difference, and that's what we're going to see next. Market oversold coming into earnings. Financials usually the bright spot. We'll see how bright they are as they start hitting tomorrow. Does look like it's set up to bounce. I expect it to do so. That's it for tonight. As I said earlier, if you're interested in what we do, if you're interested in protecting your portfolio or learning to trade or just simply following the trades, they're all here. The IRA, self-management, retirement service, also very cheaply priced, allows you to manage and mimic portfolios in a safe way, keeps your portfolio safe, and lets it grow. That's it for tonight, folks. Have a great one. Thanks for joining me. Tell a friend, and tell two, I'm LA. This is and was your daily NeoTA wrap. Until next time, I'll see you then. Good night.